Hey, it's Marshmallow back with a new video. Yes, I am talking about leaving Neverland again. Listen, this is what I call a THC rant. Surprisingly, I didn't get like that much criticism on my first video. I don't know, I know a couple people don't like when I had like that Snapchat moment on my first video if you watched it, but I was already on Snapchat and I was a rant, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna use this for my video. Sorry. But yes, I have more to say, obviously. People can be like, shut the up. But listen, I'm a victim, and I just don't like when people lie about that, especially. And you know what? I was going to make a Me Too video, but because of this, I don't know if I want to. I have been watching a crazy amount of interviews about this. It's been driving me crazy. So you know what? I got more to say, so let's go. You want to know something that Leaving Neverland left out, which was a big key to this whole thing? Brandy Jackson, Michael Jackson's niece, dated Wade Robson for like 9 years.
The end of this trip is when Wade asked me very sweetly if I would be his girlfriend. So from that point on is when we started dating.
So how long were you guys together?
Approximately 9 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
We broke up around 2000 or 2001, something to that.
So while you were teenagers, through your teen years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which people can be like, oh, well, Michael Jackson could have still molested him even if he was dating his niece. Good point. I know, good point. But the fact that they didn't mention that, Wade didn't mention that, they didn't bring that up in Leaving Neverland at all, that right there screams fishy to me. Also, the fact Wade claims in Leaving Neverland that Michael was teaching him that he should hate women. Oh, really? If he was teaching you that, Wade, why the did Michael hook you and Brandy up?
My uncle introduced us. My uncle had already known Wade and his family.
Okay.
And Wade had developed a crush on me.
Okay.
So I'll briefly explain.
Yes.
He and I met in 1991, approximately. We had done, excuse me, an LA Gear photo shoot,
Right.
as well as the black or white video. Yeah. We had done those together. And he started to develop a little crush. So he asked my uncle if he could maybe set up a situation where we could get to know each other better.
And how old were you then?
Approximately 9 or 10.
Okay.
It's, like a puppy love situation. It was just a very normal thing. So my uncle introduced or brought us both to the ranch, and we spent about a week there getting to know each other. At the end of this trip is when Wade asked me very sweetly if I would be his girlfriend.
Because I'm sure he wanted you to date his niece, but hate her as well. Yeah, dumbass. Michael loved women regardless. That's what his close friends have said. And just watching his videos, you can say, oh, he's acting, whatever. But you can just see it. Like, side note, Wade cheated on Brandy, like that's why they broke up. Wade cheated on Brandy with Britney Spears. Listen, I love Britney. She's my girl. But Brandy Jackson is beautiful, and you can tell she's just a good person, so it's like, yo. Also, I said in my first video that I wasn't sure how Wade and Michael met. Wade is a dancer, and because of Michael, he was able to work with NSYNC and Britney Spears and blah, blah, blah. Just saying. Another point is they say the reason why Wade came to the conclusion that what Michael was doing to him was abuse was because he had a breakdown a few years after Michael died. What was he doing before his breakdown? He was trying to I don't want to say this wrong, Cirque du Soleil act. Wade was turned down for that. When Wade had a financial breakdown and went after his estate, why? Because they turned him down and got a different act. Just saying. Wade Robson's mom called someone in Michael's family and said that she should have the kids because Michael wouldn't want the kids with Catherine, their grandmother. She was the kid's godmother, and da-da-da-da. Even though Diana Ross is actually the kid's godmother, but yet it was Wade's mom. That was her way to be like, let me back in. Give me that money, hunty. And when they're like, you're crazy, you're not getting these kids. No, Michael left him to his mother, Catherine. They are happy, they're fine, da-da-da. Oh, hey Wade, I'll help ya with this claim. Wade also was trying to publish a book. I don't know if it was turned down or just something didn't happen. He tried getting a lawsuit before this Leaving Neverland, and the judge threw it out. He didn't have any proof. Wade. And now let's talk about, I said in the first video that supposedly James, Safe Chuck, and Michael had a little, like, wedding with vows, and he believed it as a grown adult. So in Leaving Neverland, he shows these rings. Yeah, I got this when I was a child from Michael. He gave me these vows, and the vows meant something. I was in love with him. But I noticed that was an adult-sized ring between 7 and 10 when him and Michael had their vows. Michael bought him this ring, and it's an adult-sized ring. Don't you think Michael, he had all this money. If he, for real, in his mind, I'm marrying this child, wouldn't Michael have a child-sized ring? Something small? I don't know. I feel like that part is just bullshit. I mean, the whole movie. I feel like they were like, well, James, what is something we could say that would really pull the audience in and be like, whoa, that is so messed up. We'll feel so bad for James. What could it be? I don't know. How about this? We say you guys had a marriage. You had vows, and he got you, hey, honey, do you have a ring? Okay. Say this is the ring Michael gave you, and you've held on to it for all these years because you believe him. Okay. Michael and I, like, come on, dude. Another thing that I just was a little confused about. Wade said he was about 7 years old when him and Michael met and became friends. But Brandy said...
And look into Wade and James. Their story has changed so many times. Even their mother has put out interviews that contradict what they're saying today. That they moved here when he was 8, turning 9, but he was molested from 7 to 14. Everything is just constantly changing to fit this narrative that they're trying to tell. And it's sad to me because people don't know the facts.
So yeah, I've been watching interviews with Brandy, Taj, Siggy Jackson, one with the brothers. I'm glad that they had an interview because Leaving Neverland was one-sided. Here's these guys' stories. Here's what they say, and we're gonna keep the Jackson family out. I'm gonna say it again. Oprah, you dude, he got Michael on camera in like 92, 93 in his home after years and years that Michael was not doing interviews. He trusted her. She interviewed Lisa Marie after Michael died. Katherine Jackson after Michael died with Michael's children. That family let Oprah in because they trusted her. Whatever, someone has to interview them, yada yada yada, okay? But the way she did it was up because she put it out as facts. It wasn't even a fair side interview. It's just messed up. She was reaching out to Wade and James but wasn't reaching out to the Jackson family to get their side. Brandy, Taj, Siggy had to go on different radio stations. It's a mockumentary, not a documentary. 112%. I was glad to see that Brandy, Taj, and Siggy were all speaking out because they have a right. And people are like, oh, why isn't Janet saying anything? Why were tweets Paris's response? Why hasn't she said anything else? Why hasn't Prince and Blanket? Why haven't they said anything? Why isn't Catherine saying anything? Look, Janet just doesn't want to put a spotlight on the situation. Why did I clap like that? Don't feed into them. Even though I want to hear Janet's, maybe like in a year she'll say something, or 6 months or something like that. She didn't come right out to talk about Michael after he died. You know, she had to wait a while. So maybe that's going to happen. Catherine, she is 80-something years old, and she had to go through all this bull when her son was alive, and then also be heartbroken that her son died and her husband just died, which I didn't know. Rest in peace, Michael's dad, even though, you know, same. And now she has to deal with this. No, she's an elderly woman. She seems like such a wonderful lady. I don't want her heartbroken. I don't even know her, but it's like so sad, you know? So she shouldn't have to deal with this garbage. The kids, obviously, that's their dad. Like, when things in 93 happened, they weren't alive. The things in 2005 happened, they were old enough to really realize, you know? And now they are adults, and Blanket is a teenager. It's probably hard for them too because they're like, that's our dad. He's the best dad. Like, how can you, I don't know. It's just crazy. Leaving Neverland, they brought up Brett Barnes. Now, Brett Barnes was a friend of Michael's, and just like Macaulay Culkin, Brett is like, no, nothing happened. Brett just wants to be left alone. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't want this garbage. And Leaving Neverland brought in Brett Barnes, and Brett Barnes is pissed because he's been saying like Macaulay Culkin, nothing's happened, nothing's happened, nothing's happened. And he even tried to get them to take his name out of Leaving Neverland because he doesn't want no part of this. Apparently they haven't done it yet, but it's up. Like, just like I said in the first video, how the maid was like, I know Macaulay Culkin was molested. Macaulay Culkin has said for ever nothing happened. So now you're gonna do the same thing to Brett Barnes. Like, that's disrespectful. You don't out anyone and you don't call them a liar when they're like, nothing happened. Like, it's up. I hate people. I'm gonna touch on this more towards the end of the video, but there's a lot of shots in Leaving Neverland. You can tell that it wasn't just one take. I don't know, it's suspicious, but I'll talk about more about that in a couple minutes. But let's talk about the first case that Michael ever went through. Jordy Chandler in 1993. He was the very first boy that came out and said Michael touched me and blah, blah, blah. They ended up settling out of court for $1 million, and people were like, that's suspicious. But it was Michael's insurance company. The thing people don't understand, Jordy could still testify after getting the money. He refused. And he even said, my dad wanted money. If I am correct, I heard that Jordy Chandler has nothing to do with his dad now. That right there shows they were after money. And the fact he said my dad was literally after money. Duh! That case, that right there showed other people, if I say Michael touched me, I'm gonna get that money, hunty, ay. And that's what people do. And then Gavin, now Wade, and James, money hungry. H3H3, bullshit. They were so against Michael, which is fine, you can have your own opinion. A lot of they said you can just debunk. They brought up the Martin Bashir documentary, which we all know he made a documentary to Michael over. And if you don't believe me, there's a whole bunch of footage called The Footage You Were Never Meant to See. Maury posted it, and it showed everything that Martin Bashir cut out. Just bringing up that documentary in general, you're dumb. They talked about Gavin and how creepy the scenes for him and Michael were together were. An interview that Gavin, his mom, his brother, and his sister all did.
Wait. You know how Bashir, you know how Bashir zoomed in on him holding hands? Do that the same thing.
Because
because that's what a mother does with a son, or a father does with a son, you know? And they try to make it out to be something wrong and dirty.
H3H3, of course, was like, I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't hold your son's hand and let him rest his head on his shoulder. And we all know, if you actually looked into the case and not just read what the media said about the 2005 case, you would know they were acting very suspicious in court, and some of the things they said did not make sense. The mom was crazy and making it on the stand. None of it was credible, none of it was believable. Did this to other people too.
They had done it before, argued Mesereau. He brought to the stand newspaper editor Connie Keenan, who'd received a phone call from the accuser's mother.
Her son was ill with cancer, and they were losing their house, and they were losing their car because of the medical expenses.
Keenan felt sorry for the sick boy and eventually agreed to run a story. A few weeks later, the mother called again.
She said, you know what, we didn't make enough money from the first story. Will you run another story?
The mother's phone call prompted the reporter to carry out more research on the family. She was stunned and shaken to learn that the family was insured and their medical expenses had been covered all along.
It gives me goosebumps. It does. That a mother would use her son to use their son's illness for their own gain.
It came out at trial that the Arvizos were not as innocent as they first appeared. Trial testimony revealed that a couple years earlier, before his cancer diagnosis, Gavin was arrested for shoplifting at a J.C. Penney on an outing with his family. When a security guard confronted him in the parking lot, they got into an altercation, and Janet Arvizo was arrested. Some weeks later, Janet Arvizo sued J.C. Penney, claiming she was sexually molested by the J.C. Penney security guards. She said they twisted her nipple up to 25 times and beat her, and she offered these photos as proof. J.C. Penney settled out of court for $152,000.
Well, there's no question that two young boys lied under oath to support their mother's claim that she'd been sexually abused by J.C. Penney guards. But there are many other things that we brought forward. She was arrested. brought to the police station, we obtained the booking information where she said she didn't have any need for medical attention, didn't have any injuries. We also obtained the booking photos where you didn't see a bruise on her body or a hair out of place. Subsequently, her lawyer filed a lawsuit against JCPenney and with photographs showing bruises all over her body.
Just bringing up that family to make a point that he must have done it to Wade and James, like, you're dumb. Look into it. Also, H3H3 made a comment about how Gavin and Michael sleeping in the same bedroom. He would play one specific part, like,
there was one night I stood in there, I asked him if I could stay in the bedroom. And he let me stay in the bedroom. And I was like, Michael, you can sleep on the bed. And he was like, no, you sleep on the bed, sleep on the bed. We're like, no, you sleep on the bed. And then he finally said, okay, if you love me, you sleep on the bed. I was like, oh man. And so I finally slept on the bed. But it was fun that night. There was one night I stood in there, I asked him if I could stay in the bedroom.
And they're like, oh my god, it's so crazy, that's so disgusting. But if you would have watched the whole thing.
I slept on the floor. Was it sleeping bag?
No, he packed the whole vest of blankets on the floor.
I slept on the floor.
Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone. So you can have my bed if you want. Sleep in it. I'll sleep on the floor. It's yours. Always give the best to the company, you know? Like to him, I said, because he was going to sleep on the floor. I said, no, you sleep in the bed, I'll sleep on the floor.
I'll sleep on the floor. You sleep in the bed, I'll sleep on the floor.
They didn't play that part. It was so weird. If he has guest rooms, why are they staying in a bedroom? Like Macaulay Culkin said, and many other people have said.
What happened at the house? That's what all these things are people
you know, that's what's
about.
so weird, you know.
What did happen?
Nothing happened, you know. I mean, nothing really. I mean, we played video games, you know. We played it as an amusement park. Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, you know, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories. And it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself, and he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last like 30 years, or you know, and so he's not very good at communicating to people and not very good at conveying what he's actually trying to say to you. And so when he says something like that, you know, people, you know, he doesn't quite understand why people react the way that they do.
Michael's bedroom alone was like an apartment. H3H3, I always liked you guys, but look into. And then other people are like, what about LaToya's statements in 1993?
But I cannot, and I will not, be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. I am a victim myself, and I know what it feels like. And these kids are going to be scarred for the rest of their life, and I don't want to see any more innocent small children being affected this way. I love Michael very dearly, but I feel even more sorry for these children because they don't have a life anymore. They don't. Now you stop and you think for 1 second, and you tell me, what 35-year-old man is going to take a little boy and stay with him for 30 days, and take another boy and stay with him for 5 days, in a room and never leave the room?
She also said Katherine Jackson, Michael's mom, would call him a...
And she is the one who always said that Michael, excuse my expression, but he's a faggot. And she would say, that damn faggot, I can't stand him. And that's what she would say all the time, and she knows it, and now she's denying it, and that's what hurts.
I can't see that. Not Catherine, especially about her son. But LaToya has come back and said, look, my ex-husband was crazy, he was abusive, he told me to say that, he wanted to rip me and my family apart.
But in her early 30s, LaToya veered away from Michael into treacherous waters. She married her manager, Jack Gordon, 20 years older, and a convicted felon, who she says took control of her life, moving her away from her brother's influence.
He would lock me in the house no matter what. He would close the closet door and say, don't leave that closet. Do you know I would stay in the closet for 8 hours and not leave? Because that's how well trained I was. That's how much fear he had instilled in me. I'm your puppeteer, I pull the strings and you act. And guess what? I did it, Barbara. I didn't know any better. I was too afraid. Because he promised if I did anything out of the ordinary that he would kill me. And he took it a step further. He said, and if you don't believe me, I will do it to your brother as well. And I believed him. I had no reason not to.
During the time of your marriage, you accused Michael of being a pedophile.
Yes. Gordon gave me this piece of paper and he says, read this. He goes, you better say this. You say this.
Jack Gordon forced you to say that your brother was a pedophile. Did you think he was?
No, I did not. The courts have proven that too as well.
Why did Jack Gordon want you to say that your brother was a pedophile?
He had this hatred towards my brother that I can never explain to you why it was.
Just to make things very clear, you recanted your accusation. Are you sure today that your brother never had any undue relationship with a child?
Barbara, Michael is not. He is not.
He is not a pedophile.
No, he's not.
Oh my god, my foot's asleep. That's basically everything I wanted to say. I know I went through a rant. I'm sorry. I apologize, whatever. If you're not 100% still, like, I don't know, check out these YouTubers. Let me get their names. Lil Lou too. He has a few videos out about this, and he touches on some really, really important stuff. Matt Mamba, he went through H3H3's podcast, basically debunked everything that they were saying. I kind of touched on it, but check that out because it shows more. Collaborative Learning, they are the ones that show screenshots of the different shots from Leaving Neverland, and basically showing that they clearly did not just sit down and do it. They moved around, they took whatever, you know what I mean? Very suspicious. Check out those channels because they have a lot of information that even maybe I missed. People can be like, oh, you're defending a pedophile, you're a pedophile lover, da-da-da-da. Look, the FBI watched him and investigated him for 10 years and found nothing. He didn't do it. Point blank. He didn't do it. You're a pedophile lover. No. I'm so annoyed. And I'm sorry, I'm sure this was a little rambly. I'm a little sorry. Whatever. I sat down and vented. But alright, I'm gonna go. If you like this video, you know what to do. And if you don't, and if you're still like not convinced, check out those other channels. But just do your research. Don't be one of the sheep that just feeds into everything the media says. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the whole entire world to me. I'm gonna try not to talk about this anymore. I'm not gonna make any promises, because I might, but I'm gonna try not to. Follow me on social media, usernames and links are down in the description below. I follow back, and I'm out like a boner in sweatpants, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye!